Okay, welcome back. So, in this video, we're going to look at one of the scenes that comes out of the Book of the Dead. So, this is an Egyptian glyph. It's extremely popular, and I want to go through this glyph and give you the Egyptian mythology. And then I'm going to make commentary along the way about how my harmonic geometric system that has numbers, waves, and how we can use that to look at the glyph and see it from an entirely different perspective and tie it in to the scalar circle and the 1089 multiples and the lattice that I have been introducing along the way. So this overall is compelling from evidence from my standpoint that there is definitely a connection between this mathematics that I have laid out and the mythology that is being explained by the Egyptian historians. So let's get into it because this is like really profound. So let me share my screen. So let's get into this. Find the right presentation here. That's this one. Okay. All right. So we're going to look at this glyph or this scene, and it is found in a lot of funerary ceremonial, um, ceremonial examples. So we're going to look at this. It's called weighing of the heart, and I'm going to connect it to the 363 circle. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to just drag this over here a little bit. Okay. All right, so let's go here. So here is, I actually purchased this papyrus at the Papyrus Institute in Egypt when last time that I was there. And I just took a little photo of it so that you can get a glimpse of some things that are going on here. So we're going to go through this. I'm going to give you the Egyptian kind of mythology. Um, and it's very, very fascinating here. So we have a top kind of register. We've got this register here that this the bottom level. You see a lot of colors, and there's a lot of numerology that is encrypted in the glyph. And let's talk a little bit about what the scene portrays. And we will do this. I'm going to walk you through it anyway in the next slide, but there are 14 up here, if you count them, initiates, what we call initiates. And we've got on the bottom here, we have there are gods and goddesses. There's actually seven on this left-hand side here. We have one initiate here, Annie, and then you see this is Anubis, kind of a jackal headed god that's here and leading Annie to these scales. So this is a a deceased individual, and now the soul is going to undergo this testing. We've got a balance or a scale that's here. We have like this cross, like hybrid, you know, individual here. This is Amit, which looks like a crocodile, part of it, hippopotamus body. You can see there's a scale here. Anubis is sitting here, controlling here the balance. Also, kind of being this individual that is allowing for justice, fair justice. And so, what is it about weighing this heart against this feather over here that's going on? And you've got Thoth here, an Egyptian god. he's got an ibis head, and he's scribing or recording this specific event. Um, and then you see here Horus, which is this is the son of Osiris. And Osiris here is an Egyptian god. He's on the throne. He's the lord of the underworld world, or the Duat. His two sisters are back here. Isis and Nephthys are behind him. And then you have another four individuals here, which looks like they're on the top of a lotus that has a circular, kind of a circular inscription here. And there's some police, like, take note here, there's seven individuals. Osiris, the two sisters are three, and these four, there's seven here. And there's also seven over here. And there's a 22 also embedded in here because you will see that Anubis will appear twice. There's a two, and then Annie appears twice. So there's also another two, or a 22. Also, if you look across here, the number of these kind of rectangular divisions that are hanging down here, there, if you count them, there's actually 33 across here. So you have some interesting numerology already appearing here. Um, this weighing of this is the called weighing of the heart because the heart is going to be placed on the scale, and the soul is being, judged. And this is in the so-called afterlife. And so it's being weighed against a particular feather, and we will go into a little bit more about what this actually means as we go further. There's also some decorative items up here that I will mention. There's like 25 if you count across here. You can count the number of in Ba here. This is it looks like a bird here, and so this is the soul. And you can count the number. If you blow this up, there are 27 uh, parts of the feathering pattern that you would see here. Also, I'll point out here as well, look at the color patterning for the initiates. If you look at kind of this orange or reddish, it's like three, and then it shows up at seven, and it shows up at 11. I will be mentioning that. And then this color here, which shows up at 5, and it will show up at 9, and also like 13. And there's much, so much going on here. I'm only presenting a very small picture of how this will connect to my mathematics. There's a lot going on. They would use these glyphs to convey and pack so much information. This is their language. And I am just amazed at what I can connect to my own, the scalar physics, and the 363 scalar circle, and also the 1089 multiples, many of that. So I'll be pointing that out as we go along. So it's incredibly exciting. It's almost like I can read this using a geometric harmonic system that hasn't been described before. And I can connect it to also the ancient, Egyptian, the mythology that's being presented by the historians. So let's go a little bit further. Okay, so the main steps. I mentioned some of these already. We have the judgment of the soul after death. So this is what is happening. The soul is being judged. Did the soul exhibit the the excellence of action? That is, through the heart, since the heart, you can measure the coherency of the heart, and how did the individual treat other individuals while in the physical. And so we are looking at both a kind of a moral as well as a spiritual evaluation of a human life. So that's why the initiate has passed away, is deceased, and is coming in. The weighing, where they're weighing things, and you see that Anubis is present. So Anubis is really the guardian of the souls into the underworld. He's overseeing weighing of the heart, and He's ensuring that the judgment is fair, and he's leading the initiative to the scale. And so this is happening in what is considered to be the Hall of Judgment, and the heart is being weighed against the feather, or this is referred to the feather of Maat. Now, this is very fascinating because I think that Maat is Seshat, which is the consort of Thoth. And Maat is represents, I've mentioned this in some other videos. She represents balance, measure, um, and also like truth, order. These are these are characteristics of Maat as a goddess, as a high priestess, as a netter. And we're going to talk more about this because this is really she's flying well below, in my opinion, the radar as far as how significant and important that she is. And she, to me, I will say, represents the etheric lattice, the grid, which is tied into measurement, and the heptagon and crystal spiral, which describes the flow of the energy in a vortex-like fashion across the grid. So very, very important. And I'm going to keep highlighting her as the feminine and pulling her out into this light as we continue to go on. If the heart is heavier, so we don't have balance, then we have Amit, which is looks like the crocodile head with kind of the hippopotamus part of that is hippopotamus body. It's like a hybrid animal, if you will devours the heart. Okay, so then the initiate and the soul doesn't move forward, and it is not presented to Osiris, which is the Lord of the underworld. Um, but it is balanced, then it does move forward and is presented to Osiris. Now, I had mentioned before that if you have this balance, we could say that the balance represents coherency, and imbalance is instability, or well, you could say it's heavier. So it can begin to kind of go back here and in my system with waves, I can begin to describe whether the waves are going to be kind of phase locked, are they going to be balanced, or are they going to be imbalanced? And you would maybe have where waves are imbalanced, you have destruction, destabilization, incoherency. And if you have balance, then you would have coherency. And that would tie into Mayat, where you have coherency, balance, and then here, the Amit would just be here to represent the incoherency, where the waves actually, if they're incoherent, exhibiting incoherency, would be destroyed. Okay, so let's continue on. So when we look at the glyph, and I'm going to point these out again and again, um, because I'm going to slant this toward this my mathematical system that's geometric, it's harmonic, and I'm going to show you these new numerical patterns that just kind of to me that just pop out. They're encrypted, but they will pop out as you start to really look at the glyph closely. The number seven. Wow. We go back. We have on this side is 1 7, seven gods and goddesses in the initiate here, and you can count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there's seven over here. So the number of what is the number seven? Where do we see the number seven? Well, we've got the heptagon, for example. It's got seven vertices. It will fit within the 363 circle. So there's seven here, there's seven over here. So you could say also 77, or you could say 7 plus 7, which is 14. That's interesting because Osiris in the mythology was cut up into 14 pieces by his brother Set, and then he was put back together by Isis. And then he was kind of reborn. So we've got 33 up here, rectangular like structures here that are on the top, the sevens, and I've already mentioned the 22 as well. So these are just some numbers over here to keep track of. There's 27 here if you count these individual like feathers on the bird. And there's even more up here when we look at the initiates and the numbers. You'll see 3, 7, and 11. And you'll see also 5, 9, 13. So just keep these in mind because it's just few of the things that are going to come out of this as we kind of move through it. Um, so also we're going to be looking for, can we find the circle, the 363 scalar circle, which is, if you haven't seen some of my other videos, is a different coordinate system from 360 degrees. This is more, I'd consider this more fifth dimensional, and this is going to lead to geometry that actually breathes and also has a very important connection to the etheric lattice, whether I talk about the 33 lattice or the 11 lattice. And I've had actually the grid, I've introduced this in some other videos. And then if we go back, kind of, if we look at the scale, we could say the scale is at this central axis here, or in my mathematics, would be like the inversion axis, or in numerically, it would be a 1089 multiple or 5445. So that's 1089 times 5. So let's continue on here a little bit further. Okay, so when we start to look at this, I did have a whole nother video on mirror subtraction and mirror addition. So I just want to recap it here just so that those that haven't seen that video will be able to kind of track what I'm doing when I'm pulling these numbers. So first, let's talk about like mirror subtraction. So this is where you take a number and you subtract it from its mirror reflection. So this example here, if we took 693 and we subtracted it from its mirror, which would be 396, we would get to 297. So this is known as a mirror pair here. You treat this as a representing a phase differential between two different mirror states. You could say, oh, well, one is magnetic and we are subtracting it from the dielectric and we're generating this value here, which is 297. Now, anyone who's looked at the hourglass, when I initially started to map Tesla's vortex mathematics back onto an hourglass, and it turned out it was a kind of a variant or permutation of the crystal spiral. It had to do with the doubling of numbers, where I went from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, and then 4 to 8, and 8 to 16, which was the 7 digital root, and then 32 digital root. 3 and the 2 was for a single number was a 5. So it went 1, 2, 4, and then it went 8, 7, 5. That's a 6-digit kind of repeat. It adds to 27. I'd kind of define that as the crystal spiral, which is a repeating. It's a 6 digit repeat that describes a vortex and its movement. And so here's another example here of a number 24. This should be 2475. Minus 2178 is 297. So in this, I show you this because the 297 turns out to be a very important in my mathematics. It's the seam that runs down the middle of the hourglass. And when you have, for example, two wave states and they are offset by 297 degrees. Then these waves, because they're offset just a little bit, it will lead to the production of a structure. You'll actually get a structure. You won't have them cancel out perfectly, but it will lead to the formation of a physical structure. So this is actually, we'll talk a lot more about 297. Um, so I mentioned that it's a difference between a phase difference between two different mirror states. So this is a mirrored state here. Over here, this is actually a neighbor pair, and it's offset by 297 degrees. So it does reveal the distance or separation between two complementary phases that are in a harmonic system. And you could see this if I showed you the lattice. You could see how that actually plays out between two different, like the mirror and its reflection. Okay, so then I'll introduce mirror addition. This is where you basically have a number and you add its mirror reflection. So, for example, 231 plus 132, this is its mirror. You get 363. So this is showing you when you add, you're getting phase convergence or a return to harmonic unity. So this is known as mirror addition. And this is really shows you how complementary phases can be recombined to restore the full harmonic cycle. So these are two operations, mathematically speaking, that I used quite a bit, but I have a whole video on that, so you can go and take a look at that as we go through. All right, so let's get back into the kind of, to decoding this. Okay, so I'm going to take down here. So the 33 kind of, rectangular shapes here. We can take the 33, I labeled it over here, and we can multiply it by 7 because there's 7, individuals that are over here, and you're going to get 231. So 33 times 7 is 231. If you add it with its mirror, 132, you're getting like this return, this unity, this addition of the wave and its mirror, and you're getting 363 degrees. So to me, you're already seeing like the scalar circle being placed in here. We find it again if you take the initiates at 3 and 7 and also 11. 3 times 7, this is 21 times 11 is 231 also, plus its mirror 132, you get 363. Again, these are showing the scalar circle. If we take 33 and we multiply it by 77, 7 individuals here, 7 over here, we get 2541. Minus it by its mirror, which is 1452. And also in the mathematics, this is the star tetrahedron. Um, and so you minus these two, you get 1089. There's the square base pyramid in my scalar system of 363. It's 3 rotations. 22, because I said that Anubis appears twice and Annie appears twice. 22 times 33 is 726. This is this is the tetrahedron, the fundamental unit for packaging space. And Buckminster Fuller talked about the importance of the tetrahedron. That's four triangles that are put together. Um, and so that's incredibly important. And then we can take 22 times 77, the two sevens, and we get 1694. If we minus it and do mere subtraction, you'll get 4961, and you get 3267. This is the third harmonic shell in the 1089 multiples. This is also, I'm going to show you, this connects to one base pair in DNA. So we're making a connection back to actually DNA from this glyph as well, which is amazing. 14, so if we take the 14, the 7 and the 7, times 33, you get 462. If you add its mirror, 264, you get the tetrahedron, again, it's 726. Now, one of Toast's favorite number was 52. So there's 25 up here, decorative items. If you minus it by its mirror, 52, you get 27. Where we see 27, that's the crystal spiral. And then if you look here, you've got 33 times 27 could even be the 27 from the feathers and the bird that's being represented here is the ba. And that's 891. Nikola Tesla's room number was 3327. So 891 plus, this is mere addition, 198. You have 1089. And I could keep going on through there's so much in here, but you can see as I start to break the numerology down, I'm able to map it back to the scalar circle and 1089 and 1089 multiples and DNA and a tetrahedron. Also 27 here, which is describing the crystal spiral code, the sevens, heptagons, and there's even more in here that I won't go into right now. But this is like incredible when you think about it. Okay, so let's make the connection to DNA. Okay, so in this section, what I'm representing here is I'm showing you a fundamental unit in double-stranded DNA. So you're seeing actually a base pair, and I am showing you normally in DNA you have the bases are adenine, they're guanine, they're thymine, and they're cytosine. In the standard base pair rule, since we have two strands of DNA, when the bases come in and they're complementary to one another, you normally would have adenine pairing with thymine, and you'd find guanine pairing with cytosine. So the purines are adenine and they're also guanine, and the pyrimidines are cytosine and they're also thymine. So a purine has two rings that are fused together. One of them is a five-membered ring structure, and the other ring structure is a six-membered ring. So if you look here, the five-membered ring structure here, it's actually a pentagon, and then you have a hexagon that's fused to it. So remember that a hexagon has like 6 points in it and a pentagon five. So this over here could represent like adenine and its base pairing over here, say with thymine. So then if we go and we make a connection, and I'm just looking at one base pair, I can connect and go down into the backbone where there's a five carbon sugar or another pentagon, and then there is a phosphate group. What I did was I broke these into individual like triangles, since everything that you see in the physical basically is a triangle. Triangle is the most stable structure that you will see and that you will find in nature. And so I'm taking the hexagon and I'm basically breaking it into four triangles. And you can see kind of how I'm doing that. The square is just being broken up to two. And then over here, the pentagon, I'm breaking it into three triangles. And then we've got over here four. So we have four here and we have seven over here. And so that's going to add to 11 triangles. If we come down here, and I'm just showing it here with this backbone down here, there's another three triangles here in this deoxyribose. This is the five carbon sugar that you would find in DNA. These are the nitrogenous bases or the fused rings here. And then the phosphate group down here in chemistry, if you look at it, will model as a tetrahedron or four triangles. So we have 11 triangles here and seven here. So in my math, each triangle is 181.5 degrees for the internal angles. And if you take 18 times 181.5, you get 3267. So this is for one like base pair. So what did I do when I did all this? What am I really doing? What are the implications of this? Well, this in the DNA is a physical structure, and I'm calculating based upon the triangles of the ring structures, and I'm getting 3267. This is one of the 1089 multiples that's found in the etheric lattice. So I believe that this is demonstrating that physical DNA can be in resonance with the etheric lattice, and that you can have information exchange going back and forth. And if the etheric lattice represents the source, then now you have communication and direct connection or resonance between the two. Interestingly enough, in one, if you look at one turn in B form DNA, it's 10 base pairs. So if you multiply all this by 10, you end up with 32,670. That is also in, if you look at the harmonic shells that I have, you'll find that that's also in my harmonic shells. It's so we have a connection to one base pair and also one turn or one cycle in the DNA. So that's itself. That means that back in here, that there is, to me, there's an encryption of DNA back in this glyph as well. Okay, so let's summarize just kind of the scalar circle, what some aspects of what I saw in the glyph. You can see these numbers here. We found I just showed you two different representations of the scalar circle. The square base pyramid is there, 1089. I showed you it coming up here by 33 times 77 gives you 2541, and we do the mere subtraction, we get 1089. Nikola Tesla's room number at the New Yorker Hotel. I don't think this is a coincidence. This seems to be that this was something very important, harmonically speaking, 33 times 27. So we're talking this 33 is this is the 33 lattice that I actually presented. So we've got the lattice here times 27 is 891 plus its mirror goes to 1089. So remember when we're adding specific numbers, you're having convergence, you're having return, you're having unity. And this is 1089 here. Um, then the tetrahedral harmonic, 22 times 33, you get 726. And then here with the mere addition, 14 times 33, you get 462 plus its mirror 726. So you're seeing again, this is the tetrahedron that's showing up. The fundamental unit for packaging space is showing up. The square base pyramid, this is like in Egypt. This is what's sticking above the ground, the square base and four triangular sides. This is showing up. The scalar circle is showing up. The crystal spiral is showing up here. The initiates 5 plus 9, 13, that's 27. This is the crystal spiral. We showed earlier the heptagon is the number 7. This was on the crown of Seshat or Maat. So all of this is just like converging. The phase shift constant, which is the seam that runs right down the middle of the hourglass. This 297 is showing up, and this is important. 297 degrees. This is like the phase shift constant, is what I'm calling it, where two waves are shifted, and that allows for structure formation when they're slightly shifted from one another. And then we've got a 1089 multiple showing up as one base pair in DNA. Incredible when you start seeing, and there's so much more that's in there. I won't go into it now, but I think they're looking and using this numerical harmonic system. I can describe things coming in with this mathematics, that it also is overlapping with the historians and kind of what they're saying, but I'm coming in from using waves and numerology and shells and this 363 circle. And This is definitely connected to also the gates, right? Which I present. I have a video on the seven Osiris gates, and because this is, you have to be able to pass through these gates. Um, and it's, if you can pass through the gates, then you have the coherency, then you have the mastery, and you've passed the so-called, test, and you have the consciousness that is evolving. So all of this is stitched together. So I hope you really enjoyed this. Share it with other people. Discuss it and think about it, because it's incredible what we can be able to do with this, and how we can then use this knowledge to take apart other hieroglyphs that are sitting in Egypt. How much information. I mean, this is incredible how it's encrypted, and how it just begins to fall apart with this harmonic, mathematical system that's geometric that we're looking at with this 363 scalar circle and these 1089 multiples. Just fascinating. All right, I gotta go. Talk to you later.